Fortnite has introduced over 35 different shotguns since Battle Royale was added, and while many of these have been very good, what actually is the best shotgun? So I decided to set out and try and answer this as scientifically as I could by looking at all the different stats for each shotgun. Let's start out with the shotguns from Chapter 1. To start, I want to clarify that because there are multiple versions of each shotgun, I'm going to be looking at the gold version of the final version of that shotgun and what is currently in the game. So for Chapter 1 for example, the OG pump in Season 0 that could do 225 damage for a headshot in Gray Rarity, snipe people 100 meters away, and one-shot walls is not the version of the pump we'll be looking at, rather what is in the game in 2025. Speaking of the pump shotgun though, this is the first contender we have. The pump is the gold standard for a shotgun in Fortnite, and has undergone a lot of balance changes to get where it is now. The legendary version of the pump does 128 damage to the body and 185 to the head when you hit all of the pellets. It does 55 structure damage, has a fire rate of 0.7, and has a solid equip time at about 400 milliseconds. And as the pump is a great comparison point for other shotguns, these will be the baselines for the rest of the video. Chapter 1 also introduced the tactical shotgun, a shotgun beloved by the community, but I don't think anyone would consider it the best shotgun of all time, although the purple and gold variants are quite good as each shot does over 75 structure damage. This is also an important consideration. A shotgun doing 75 or more structure damage means that you can shoot a wood wall once and then pickaxe it to break the wall, which is super valuable as you can break through builds really quickly, making it strong for aggressive play. The other shotguns introduced in Chapter 1 include the combat shotgun, the double barrel shotgun, the drum shotgun, and the heavy shotgun. The combat shotgun was really the only one out of these shotguns that stood out as it had impressive range and high DPS, but it got nerfed hard after it was released, which really took it out of contention for this title. Moving on to Chapter 2, the main shotguns throughout most of the chapter continued to be the pump and the tac, but the one shotgun that is worth considering for this title is the charge shotgun. The gold version of the charge does 102 for a body shot and 179 for a headshot when it's uncharged, but it does 149 for a body shot and 205 for a headshot when fully charged, making it the only current non-mythic shotgun that can 200 pump. It also can do a lot of structure damage when you fully charge it, but that is obviously slow and situational. While the damage output on the charged shotgun is really high, it can be a little awkward to use due to the charging mechanic, especially with how fast players are in 2025, but leaves a lot of room for very skilled players to be good with it. The other notable shotgun added in Chapter 2 was the primal shotgun, which was really broken on release, but underwent multiple damage and fire rate nerfs that made it far inferior to the pump that season. The other shotguns added in Chapter 2 were the lever action, the dragon breath, the dub, and the makeshift shotgun. Have you ever heard of a more disgusting list of shotguns in your life? Chapter 3 is when mythic shotguns were first introduced to the game, with the two-shot shotgun and the Evochrome shotgun. But mythic and exotic shotguns are not going to be included in this video since they are special cases and not the regular version of these shotguns. While the two-shot and Evochrome aren't real contenders for this list, it is at least worth considering the striker pump, which was the main pump shotgun of this chapter. The gold version of the striker pump does 110 to the body and 185 to the head, which is lower damage output than the original pump shotgun. It had a similar equip time to the pump shotgun and also does 55 structure damage, which is the same as the pump. What is not the same as the pump shotgun though is the fire rate of 0.65, which is slightly slower than the pumps of 0.7. which made it super annoying to get used to or switch back and forth with the pump, as it would mess up your muscle memory. I don't know why Fortnite thought this was a good idea, but I do think that this combined with the slightly slower damage output make this a little bit worse than the pump. Also, I do think people may underrate the striker a little bit, as this is when people weren't even carrying a shotgun because of how broken the Stinger SMG was at the time. Chapter 3 also introduced the Ranger shotgun, which is really strong in zero build, and the Prime shotgun, which is a solid shotgun as well, as the first shot in your mag does additional damage. There were 5 good shotguns introduced in Chapter 3, but there were a couple stinkers from the season, including the reworked heavy shotgun and the auto shotgun. Chapter 4 is when the pump shotgun starts to have some real competition for the best shotgun of all time. The Thunder shotgun is the first one to consider, as this was the pump variant to start out the chapter. It does 119 to the body in the gold variant, and 195 to the head, which is pretty comparable output to the pump shotgun. The big issue with the Thunder shotgun is its reload time. While it does do 61 structure damage, which is good, you basically cannot use it to pressure walls alongside your pickaxe, as it takes an eternity to reload one bullet and only has a magazine size of 4. It also eats through ammo, as you need 2 shells for one shot. I'm sure you guys have run into this problem playing the Simpsons season, as using the Sentinel pump in Chapter 6 really spoiled me for what a good 4-bullet pump shotgun should be. Another consideration with the Thunder is its wide spread for a pump shotgun. This makes it easier to hit shots, but it can also make it difficult in close range to avoid hitting builds that you are peeking around, and makes it slightly worse from long range. The Thunder also has a slower equip time than the pump. but the lower rarity variants do a lot of damage, with the gray doing 92 for a body shot and 170 for a full headshot, which is higher than the gray pump by a good amount. The other shotgun released in Chapter 4, which is a very popular choice for the best shotgun of all time, is the Havoc shotgun. The gold variant of the Havoc does 132 body shot and 190 headshot, which is much better damage output than the pump shotgun. Another positive to the Havoc is the smaller spread that it has, where the spread isn't too small that it is difficult to hit shots, but its tighter spread allows for big shots from a longer distance away. It is also able to hit for a lot of damage from long ranges, as when you aim down sights the spread decreases even more and is very tight. Its magazine size of 6 is one more than the pump's, it reloads about 80 milliseconds per bullet faster than the pump, and it does 65 structure damage, which makes it very strong for pressuring walls. The one downside of the Havoc is that it has a terrible pullout time, about 100 milliseconds longer than the pump's equip time, which when you are in a fight against a good opponent really hurts a lot. Equip time is a stat that people really underestimate how big of a difference it makes, as those extra milliseconds are often the difference between you finishing a fight and your opponent being able to escape to another box. I honestly think this is a massive negative for the Havoc, as pullout time is really important for fast gameplay. If you don't believe me, go into a 1v1 map right now and test out the Havoc with a friend, and have them use a shotgun with a fast equip time, and you will certainly notice the difference. Despite this though, every other aspect of the Havoc is very strong, making this a top contender. Chapter 4 introduced a ton of new shotguns, so I won't go over all of them, but I do think it is worth making a note of the Sharp Tooth shotgun, where they recycled the spaz texture to make a really crappy shotgun and fake everyone out for some reason. Still kinda confused about this one. Chapter 5 only introduced 5 new shotguns, but all of these shotguns were good and worth picking up unlike some other chapters. The Modular Combat Shotgun, the Sovereign Shotgun, and the Frenzy Auto, especially before the nerf, were all solid shotguns, and you weren't at a huge disadvantage with any of these. The Hammer Pump was a really solid pump shotgun that had a tight spread and really low equip time, but did less damage than the other pump variants, making it a really balanced and fun shotgun. There is one clear standout from this chapter though, which is the Gatekeeper. The Gatekeeper is different than every other shotgun that is in consideration. It only does 92 to the body and 138 to the head in the gold variant, only has a magazine size of 3, and you have to reload the whole magazine all at once. However, the reason this is in consideration for the title of the best shotgun is the fire rate and pullout time. It has a fire rate of 1.7, which is not only more than twice as fast as the pump, it is faster than most auto shotguns by a good distance. The time to kill with this gun is extremely low because of this, and if you hit your shots you can do 200 damage in under 2 seconds. As I mentioned, the equip time is also ridiculous at about 350 milliseconds, making it about 80 milliseconds faster than the pump. Not only is this good for when you start shooting the Gatekeeper, you are able to shoot once, place a build, and then swap back to the Gatekeeper extremely quickly to keep shooting. It also did ridiculous structure damage of 89, which does more than half of a wood wall. This was an insane gun for aggressive players despite the mag size, as you could end fights very quickly. The problem was that if you miss your shots, the whole mag reloads all at once, which means you had to wait over 2 seconds to reload it to get even one shot back. So there was some serious risk involved. Also, quick note, I am just looking at the default Gatekeeper with no weapon modifications, as I doubt those are ever going to come back, and you could not consistently get weapon mods in really tough competitive lobbies. Moving to Chapter 6, there were some really mid shotguns like the Outlaw, the Pump and Dump, the Oni shotgun, the Sweeper shotgun, and the Twin Fire shotgun that were always annoying to find instead of the clear best shotgun of this chapter. It's also worth mentioning that 2 of the Star Wars shotguns were pretty good this chapter, where the ACP Scatter Blaster was a good balanced pump shotgun, and the Jawa shotgun was a very polarizing gun, as it did 179 body damage and 190 headshot damage and 169 structure damage in the gold variant, but had a cooldown time of about 2.2 seconds. This meant you were basically screwed if you missed your shot, so it was sort of a much better Dragon's Breath shotgun. However, the best and defining shotgun of Chapter 6 though was the Sentinel Pump shotgun. This did 114 body damage and 195 headshot damage, and had a fire rate of 0.85, which is faster than the pump shotgun. It only has a magazine size of 4, but it reloads much quicker than the pump does. Another aspect of the Sentinel Pump that made it so strong was the structure damage, as the gold variant did 94 structure damage per shot, and even the gray variant did 77, which gets that lucky number 75, which is more than half of a wood wall. This, comboed with the fastest pullout time out of any shotgun that we've talked about so far, of only 300 milliseconds, made it incredible for playing aggressive, as you were able to switch between the Sentinel and your pickaxe or spray weapon really quickly when pressuring walls, which made it really strong for pre-firing as well, since it pulled out almost immediately. This pressure combined with good damage, fast reload time, and a faster fire rate made it a really strong weapon when in a good player's hands, as it doesn't really have any glaring weaknesses. It's also worth mentioning the Wrecker revolver in Chapter 6. While it wasn't technically a shotgun, it basically acted as one and allowed you to double pump and was really strong for medium ranges as well. So what is the best shotgun? After looking at all of the stats behind these weapons, I think I would say the strongest shotgun of all time is the Sentinel Pump. While it doesn't have the DPS of the Gatekeeper and doesn't hit as hard as the Havoc, it makes up for this by having no weaknesses and having insane ability to pressure through the structure damage, equip time, and reload time. While the Havoc's damage is ridiculous, a lot of the time in fights you are just looking to hit your opponent with 2 shotgun shots adding up to 200 damage, and the Sentinel Pump often allows you to do this and has a pullout time about 250 milliseconds lower than the Havoc, which is an enormous difference in fighting in 2025. The Gatekeeper is also an absurd shotgun, but I think its small mag size combined with the reload time puts it a little bit below the Sentinel Pump. Overall, the Sentinel Pump does everything really well and doesn't have any limitations in comparison to other shotguns, and therefore is the best shotgun when in the hands of a good player. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. I figure some of you won't be happy about my choice. Also, if you have any Fortnite hot takes, leave them in the comments below as I'm going to be doing a video reacting to them.